What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode and edition of the Wrestling Hour right here. Adfreeshows.com gets it first, and of course, we'll be on the old MyFandom YouTube channel in just a few days. If you could be patient, Dave Sturchio and Josh Shernoff back with you today. The last time you heard from us, we were doing a live pre-show of the WWE Royal Rumble, the latest PLE to go down in Indy. Josh, there's a lot obviously to unpack. I mean, we realized there was only 4 matches, so obviously not that much to unpack, but there's little mini storylines that are starting to build, and, you know, Raw comes and goes, and, you know, we have a lot of more questions than answers. But first and foremost, did you enjoy the Rumble with your son? Was he absolutely bonkers for the winner?
I watched it with the whole crew. I had both sons and my daughter, and dude, the amount of yeeting that took place in my family room. My kids lost their minds over it.
Seems to be the consensus from everybody that I talked to with a son or daughter.
My daughter went nuts for Alexa Bliss.
Yeah, same.
And she was like so excited about that. And yeah, my son, I mean, he was dressed. He had so my daughter found glasses. She was at Wegmans with my wife and found these sunglasses that look like Jey Uso sunglasses. So my son had me write YEET on them, and he's worn them to school every day since, you know, he's gotten them. So he's wearing that. He's got his whole get up, like totally dressed for this. And yeah, he just went nuts. And then my 4-year-old is like following along, yeeting, and he's like, you can tell he's like, yeah, about 70% sure what's happening.
Right.
And yeah, dude, I mean, I'm thinking about that. This is my kid's first real year being wrestling fans, you know?
Mm-hmm.
When I first became a wrestling fan, my guy immediately was Bret Hart. He's part of the Hart Foundation, but for whatever reason, I was just like, that's my guy, right? Such a random, you know, this isn't Bret Hart in like 95. Well, this is...
Mine was Sean as soon as Jannetty through a plate glass window before he was heartbreak.
But that was Sean. That was the turn. That was now he's a singles guy and all that. I'm just like, man, I love Bret Hart from the Hart Foundation. Like that was, I don't know. I guess I have an eye for talent. I don't know. So, but I'm thinking to myself, could I imagine like 1990, let's say, which was probably my first Royal Rumble that I watched like in real time, not, you know, I wore out the VHSs on the other. But like, I couldn't even imagine if Bret Hart had won the Royal Rumble in 1990. Like nobody would have expected that at that point in time.
True.
So for my son to be able to watch and have his favorite that out of nowhere, he just like Jey Uso became, because it was Cody. And then quickly Jey Uso, just everything became YEET. He just really, you know. So, yeah, man, it was so cool. I love watching it with my kids. We've talked about this, and people are probably like, shut up already, but it's my show, so I don't care. Our show, I apologize. But I love watching it through my kids' eyes. I almost wish I could go back and experience the Ruthless Aggression era and the PG era and all of that stuff through my kids' eyes. Because I was too old at that point. You know, Ruthless Aggression era, I'm in my 20s. And I'm in the business at that point. Right. I've been in the ring physically for a number of years. Like, I couldn't be a fan anymore.
Things do change. Yeah, things do change once you get into professional wrestling. You start looking at it with a different eye. You know, for one, you know, for me, like you got to watch it with your kids. I felt like I was around a bunch of children. It was myself, Danny Moff, Sean Donovan, Vargas, Chris Payne, and Tommy D. We're all at the Chop Studios, and we all watched it as fans, right? We really didn't really break down anything like, oh, there's a botch or there's this or that. We just sat back and enjoyed the food and the ambiance of the Royal Rumble. And from a guy who, and it's funny because I think I brought it up on this show, maybe last Wednesday. I brought it up on this show. I said, you know, with all these promos, you know, can Jay win this thing? You know, like it was like a far thought in the back of my mind. And I'm like, probably not, you know, they got to set up something big for somebody, right? And as it started going and going, and we'll break down the other matches in a minute, but obviously we start with the, the main attraction, and we're all sitting there like, Jay's still in there, like, all right, well, he's probably gonna get thrown out last, like one of those things.
Right.
But then
I
you
was
see it
thinking
get,
Final Four for sure. I'm like,
yeah,
Jey Uso,
yeah,
Final Four, absolutely.
yeah. At the
But
very least, you're like, yeah, that's gonna happen. And then like as it gets narrowed down, you're like, you see this certain way that certain people are getting eliminated. Like when Punk threw out both Roman, and what was it, Roman
and Seth.
and Seth, right? And then Punk gets thrown out by, of all people, Logan Paul, who he just made fun of Kevin
Dude,
Owens for. So
I
there's your storytelling.
Yes, which was phenomenal. But I honestly, they got me to the point where when it was like, I guess the final three, right, was Cena, Logan Paul, and Jey Uso.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you sons of bitches are going to give this to Logan Paul. And I'm like, I'm sitting there like,
that thought never, the only thought that went through my mind when it was those three, I was like, this is great. They're going to give it to Cena. This is awesome. This is going to be a moment. It's going to be great. Right. And sure enough, there goes Logan. And then you're down to two. And I'm like, well, this is really cool. They gave the rub for Jay to get to the end. And then, he's going to mess up somewhere along the line, miss a super kick or blah, blah, blah. And then next thing you know, it's like, boom, he wins. And I'm like,
when he put Jay up on his shoulders, I was like, Jay's winning. The second he put him up on his shoulders, to me, I was just like, he set him up for like, this is Jay's gonna slide off behind him. And I didn't think it was gonna be as cool as it was though. Like I was like, Jay will slide off behind him, hit him with a super kick or something. And I loved the fact that he slid off behind him and pushed him.
He just pushed him,
and Cena just falls and lands on his feet and is like, son of a bitch.
Cena like sticks the landing like a gymnast.
I loved. Because my first thought was he's going to slide off super kick. And I love that it was just like slide off, push him. Cena's like, okay, on my feet. Wait, crap. I just lost.
Honestly, what's the objective to the Rumble? Just get your guy off the apron at that point. So it's like, it made it more real.
I love
it. Made it like we don't need to dial up some super kick or a headbutt or a drop kick no, just get him off the apron. And they did that. Now, I have to raise this question to you, Josh, because the internet's a buzz, right? Mm-hmm. The internet's a buzz. So for years, and this dates back to Zack Ryder, this dates back to Bobby Roode, this dates back to all these guys, Rusev, right? This dates back to all these guys that like got themselves over, whether it be like Zack Ryder with all his YouTube stuff, or Rusev Day, or Glorious, or what all this. All
Zack Ryder, rest in peace. By the way,
I know. I'll get more into that in a minute because I'm very disappointed, and I'll tell you why in a second. Okay. So all these guys that get themselves over, and you're rooting as fans, like, come on, WWE, come on, Machine, get behind these guys. We did. Why not us? And all of a sudden, you got somebody like a Jey Uso who gets himself over with a catchphrase of one singular word, right? Mm-hmm. And he's got the crowd in the palm of his hand. And for whatever reason, every time I see him doing the YEET thing with the whole crowd, I think of 8 Mile. I don't know if you've ever seen 8 Mile, but like,
of course I've seen 8 Mile.
There's a scene where Eminem, or Jimmy, whatever the hell his name is in that movie, he's got the whole crowd doing the thing. And I'm like, wow, what a cool scene to have the whole crowd do your, like, just be with you and vibe with you. So now Jey Uso's got that. He's got the world by the balls. The Machine, the WWE, Triple H, and Creative, they said, you know what? We got to capitalize on this. We have to, right? The kids love him. The adults love him. The moms, the dads, everybody loves Jey Uso. He wins the thing. And then people are like, oh, wait, hold on. Not Jey Uso. Like, what? Where are we going to find this this happy medium, Josh?
If I may.
Pontificate. Go ahead.
To quote The Rock, to all the people who are negative about Jey Uso winning, off is the direction in which you can fuck. Because my feeling on this is...
That's great.
Like, I am so sick and tired of the internet wrestling community. And if you're on the internet as a wrestling fan and you agree with what I'm saying, then you're not a part of the internet wrestling community. I don't consider myself a part of the internet wrestling community.
No.
We all know who that is, right? It's the people who are just negative on everything. Nothing will please them.
Everything.
And I'm looking at it and I'm going on so many levels. You don't understand business, right? You don't understand what being over actually is. Everyone thinks, oh, they're over. You know, that one's so, you don't know anything. I watched a WrestleMania years ago. I'm sure I brought this up once upon a time. But a friendly acquaintance was over. And I'd watch wrestling with him. He was part of like the group that would come over and watch wrestling sometimes. And it was Jericho against AJ Styles at WrestleMania.
Mm.
And Jericho beat AJ Styles. And he's just like, they buried him. They just killed his whole career. And I looked at him like, he just fucking lost at WrestleMania to Chris fucking Jericho. Like, he didn't just lose to Gilbert on Sunday Night Heat. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
Right.
Needless to say, by the way, AJ Styles went on to a relatively successful career of
Somewhat.
many world championships. And we'll talk about AJ in a second, but I always think about that, like, these people don't know what they're talking about. And I look at it and I get, look, there were people I saw, you know, friends who have their kids love John Cena and were like heartbroken, like, oh my God, I can't believe what just happened here. You will not please everybody, even when you do things right. You won't please everybody. That's why there's vanilla and chocolate ice cream, right? That's the old story.
Mm-hmm.
That you can't please everybody. But Jey Uso is over. He is what that actually means. He sells merchandise. He sells tickets. He makes people want to watch.
They make him a shirt color for every city he's
every
in.
City.
Orange shirt color on Monday for Cleveland.
Yep.
Okay. Like, they do this for him.
Dude, he is, and he is why having a second world championship works. Because what I will say is, if you don't have that second world championship and you only have the WWE title, and Cody Rhodes has it, I don't see Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble. Because the WWE title, no matter what they want to say, that is the top of the mountain. That is the tippity top of the mountain. So they would have been doing whatever's going to set up for that championship. And not to say that that can't, you know, waver at some times, you know, and championships, one can be more over than the other. But I just think this was the perfect, he is bigger than the Intercontinental title. Mm-hmm. He is not quite ready to be the quarterback of the entire company and what that entails, but he is ready to be a world champion. He is ready to be seen on that main event level. And I loved it. And maybe I'm biased because my kids went nuts for it and everything. No, but I look at it and I go, that's wrestling. That's what it's supposed to be.
It's one of those things where it's a feel, and you feel it when you feel it when he's out there and he's cutting his promo. And I can fast forward to Raw when he's actually confronted by Gunther, the world heavyweight champion. And you could just feel before he gets out there, he's in tears. Yeah. And that's raw emotion, man. That is like, hey, you know, they believed in me. All you out here believed in me, right? So here I am. I am presenting myself, my vulnerable ass self, as your number one contender and Royal Rumble winner. For anybody who contests this idea, you truly don't understand professional wrestling. And that's okay. I'm not like coming down on you like you should never watch wrestling again. It's like a lot of things.
But stop talking like you do.
Right. So like when somebody finishes a football point on Twitter, on my football Twitter is quite active. And when somebody says, if you don't agree, you don't know ball. Right. That's the quote that I freaking can't stand, because it's like, wait, you tell me I can't disagree with you. And now my knowledge for the sport is gone. That's right. So it's like, they're like, oh, if you don't agree with, or if you think that Jey Uso winning the Rumble is good, then you don't know wrestling. No, I'm here to tell you that if you don't think Jey Uso winning the Rumble is a good thing for every single party involved, including the conglomerate that is the WWE, you don't know wrestling. I'm sorry. It's like if you're satisfied with mediocre stuff, go watch another program. Right? This is the Royal Rumble. It's the biggest event of the year outside of WrestleMania's 2 nights. Now next year, it's gonna be even bigger and bigger and bigger, and it just keeps getting bigger, and why not strap the rocket to the guy that the fans go bonkers for each and every time he's out there? You can't even get through a sentence. It's the new "what" chant, right?
Yeah.
And I can't stand the "what" chant, by the way,
Hate the
but
what
I'm just
chant.
well, in 2025, I can't stand the "what" chant. When it was popular, when Austin was making it popular, it was
Oh,
great.
it was great in that 6-month period, and when that
Sure,
was
and then
done, it
right,
was
and
like,
then it's
shut
just
up.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
now it's
I'll
hard.
tell you the other thing, these are the same people who go like, Joe Hendry's not going to be in there. Nobody knows who he is.
They went nuts.
Other than, I guess, 70,000 people who knew every word to a song.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Who
And
went nuts when that music hit. And it's just, I don't like this is so ironic to sit here and negatively speak and say I don't like the negativity in professional wrestling when 99% of what I do between this show and So Says Shernoff is how can I have a humorous negative spin on wrestling. But I don't like the toxic nature of it. It's ridiculous. This is professional wrestling. It is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be enjoyable. And that, to circle back to the Royal Rumble, this was one of the most enjoyable Royal Rumbles I've ever watched. And again, maybe it was the company, right? Maybe it was getting to enjoy it through the eyes of my kids. It was also a damn good premium live event. It was a damn good
Right.
Royal Rumble.
Very much will.
I loved it. Let's talk about AJ Styles for a second.
Another big surprise
Thank
comeback, right?
God he is back to his old music
Mhm.
and his old look. Because
Right.
whatever
Came
they
out-
were trying,
it looked like a mirror image of when he first debuted.
yeah, it was
Came
awesome.
out, hood over, and then just revealed, and
And
hey, I'm
just
back.
that is his music. It's like, I'm sorry, AJ, that's your music forevermore.
Mhm.
Because I know you never want to go back to that other TNA music because he like hated that.
I don't remember.
Get ready to fly.
All right, now I do remember it.
But no, he just,
Hey, look, he looks like $1 million. It looks like
He does.
he's good to go on the injury. And to be honest with you, I don't know. Like again, I don't really study like WWE TikToks, but like they let them be themselves a lot with these TikTok dances and shit like that. And he was involved in one of them post Royal Rumble, so he's like having a good time. And this is the AJ Styles that you want to see because he's going to now put on unbelievable performances every time the guy's out there. He doesn't know how to dial it back, right? Like he knows how to bring it each and every time.
No
That
matter
was a
where
great
he is
return.
on this flat earth, that man is giving it 110%.
Absolutely. And like I said, between that, you had Joe Hendry, like you just said. As far as other surprises in the men's rumble, I don't think that I'm just off the top of my head.
Was.
There wasn't, but again, what you saw was development of storylines. I think we're gonna get a Roman and Seth at WrestleMania because dude,
so.
some of the cinematography that these guys put on, it looked like Mufasa was out there. Like from a you just saw the angle that they shot. It was one of the greatest shots of the whole night. And you see like Roman Reigns, like his hair is just all over the place. He's ready to pounce on Seth Rollins. And then at the end of it, when the elimination happens, you got Seth attacking him even more. And now what they're saying on Raw is Roman's out for the foreseeable future. Now, what does that mean? How long is he out? Look, they're not going to go WrestleMania.
He'll be back by Mania. Yeah.
Right. I was going to say they're not going to go to WrestleMania without Roman.
But here's the thing,
that
though.
That alone is how you could start another story within a story.
And even just the way that Roman, the depth of his character, in that when it all comes down to who Roman Reigns is somebody that fears betrayal. That is there for as great as his character is. His character, I'm not talking about the human being. I'm talking about, the character of Roman Reigns has been presented in a way that is his Achilles heel. His Achilles heel is a lack of trust and a need to be in charge, need to be the tribal chief, the need to be the biggest thing, because if I am the master and ruler, then nobody can betray me because I'm on top of everybody else and I'll keep them all beneath me. And you saw that when he's eliminated by Punk and then Punk gets thrown out and Roman Reigns looks at him and goes, we just teamed together a month ago and then get stomped by Seth. But that is, and I might be paraphrasing it, but that is the extent of when he goes to CM Punk and he's like, we just teamed, like he's looking at it going like, I thought we were cool. Like I thought this was, and you can tell like it like hurt the man's heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it was amazing.
And next thing you know, his head's hurt because he gets, just stomped out twice by Seth Rollins.
And then we still don't know where is this favor? CM Punk's out. So what's that favor going to be?
Now
he's got Elimination Chamber as an option, but
now he defeats. And again, man, it's crazy how layered this shit gets. Because look, we can go back now to the Rumble, right? Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes' ladder match was great. It was great. And there was bumps. There was so many bumps in that match where I'm just like, oh, come on, dude.
Seriously.
Knock it off. Like, you're going to shorten your career. Like, stop.
It's one of those things where you look at it, and like you said, you got to watch as a fan with everybody there. But what's funny is there's one part, no matter what we want to do, people like us who have been in the ring, who've wrestled, legitimately been professional wrestlers, and people like a Danny Moff and Sean Donovan and Vargas and stuff like that who are actively in there and have been, just riding the road forever. No matter how much you want to watch as a fan, we know what that feels like.
Oh my God.
Like I was in only one ladder match, but I was gorilla press slammed down onto that ladder. Not good. It's not a good feeling. And
it's as tough as Moff and as tough as Donovan to sit there and squirm because see it.
Because you're looking at it going like, for sure, because there's someone sitting at home going like, like Jim Ross, someone's at home saying they know how to fall, like that. But we can look at that and go, and especially guys like a Moff and Donovan and stuff like that, they can look at that and go, I've been there. That sucked for Kevin Owens just there.
Right.
That man ain't walking right for the next 6 months. Like,
and like I said, they really told a great story throughout, and it really took a significant bump to do it. And then you got Sami Zayn comes out there to check on his friend. And all of a sudden, I don't know if one of the moments that's kind of not getting lost, but I don't know if anybody's hearing what Cody is saying, but Cody goes all the way around to the table just to stand over Kevin Owens. That to me, Josh, is like another telltale sign that he's about to Homelander the shit out of this thing. he is on his way to doing some dirty shit.
But to me, is he showing there is a side of him that don't treat me like I'm, Captain America here. Like I will, it
was a sight. It was a sight for him to stand over that. The entire scene of just the wreckage and just putting Kevin Owens through the ladder, and then the match ends and
bump.
Oh my God! Just
it breaks and his head's through the thing and he's upside down and he's like upside down forever. Like it's just it was,
which is again, as the performer side of myself and Josh, we can appreciate how good of a sell that is when you're just sitting there and you're not moving. And now you're just like, oh, he's dead. It's fine.
Yeah.
Everything's fine. Man. So, but then obviously, we were just talking about the Chamber, and on Raw, Sami Zayn has a qualifying match against CM Punk. Sidebar for half a second.
Yeah.
I love with a capital L what they're doing with Karrion Kross. I know it's not much.
Me too.
But he is popping up everywhere. And it's like,
just a little to
right.
He's when is it freaking devil in your ear? He just pops up occasionally. Devil on your shoulder.
And then finally he shows a little something like I'm not a problem, or I'm starting to piss you off. You see the vein in the neck start going. Like he's ready to pounce. He's ready to kill. And it's just a matter of time before he does that. But then we see the main event unfold the way it did. And, CM Punk gets the win. Great match, by the way. Another fantastic performance. Because when's the last time you saw Punk on Raw do a main event match like that? It's been a while. Even if he has along the way.
2 weeks ago. But yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like, it just didn't
No, I
happen as
got you. I got you.
often. More promos and
No,
stuff like
he's
that. But
killing
like,
it, and you're getting to see now because he got injured when he came back, and it was like, oh
you
man,
take
like,
it from us right
but you
away.
got to see what you're getting out of this run now, what you were getting out of his AEW run, where you're
Right.
just like, holy crap, like Punk is maybe doing some of the best stuff he's ever done, like his stuff with MJF, and
Right.
uh,
The dog collar match in itself, like,
mhm.
Jesus Christ, just they killed
And
each other. But then, like,
yeah,
then you get the conclusion of the match. CM Punk wins. He secures his spot. Kind of gives a very brief, like, all right, thanks for coming.
yeah,
And all of a sudden, a beaten and broken KO jumps Sami Zayn. And before you're like, oh, again with these guys, like, you don't like the longest term storytelling would finish with a KO Sami Zayn match at WrestleMania. Like,
they
that
have
is
to, they
they
have
have
to.
to, because it's like you saw how they started at Ring of Honor, right? You saw all the stuff that lead up to that. You saw everything these
And
guys have been
before
through
Ring of Honor,
before that.
like
Just the
PWG,
whole road to get to the Bro.
CZW, like
Yeah,
yeah.
man. It's just the longest story possible. And now you got KO saying, basically, where were you when I was getting my ass kicked by Cody Rhodes? You showed up at the opportune time when I was down and out and pretty much near death. Then you show up. Now Kevin's got a gripe, right? And now Kevin's got himself a fantastic story to tell when it comes to those two at WrestleMania. We'll get more into that, obviously, as it goes, but that's going to be a
To me,
fantastic story.
that's where we're headed. That has
They're
to be where we're
cooking
headed.
on all cylinders with the WWE. The Women's Rumble. You're looking
Awesome.
at the Women's Rumble. Here comes some surprises, right? You knew you were going to get a little dose of NXT. You knew you were going to get Jordan Grace. So at least I thought we were going to get Jordan Grace, and we did. She looks like $1,000,000. She's always looked that way.
And I love just the fact
later
they
on.
announced it. Said, we first saw Jordan Grace in last year's Royal Rumble when she was the TNA Knockouts champion, but this year, this is her first time seeing her as a full-fledged WWE superstar, and you're just like,
And she
sky's the
absolutely
limit.
slaughtered it. She slaughtered it. Like, she went out there and started throwing bodies around and showing her strengths and really doubling down on everything she's very, very good at. And then, then you get that really emotional return for Alexa Bliss, where she's wearing the friend or the Fiend Forever shirt, jacket. And you just felt that. You felt that in that moment, man. Like, this dude's legacy is never going to die, and it's going to be carried on by all the appropriate people. So now you just kind of wait and see, because she had a great showing, but you don't know where exactly she's going to fit into all this. You would think,
Liv Morgan.
you would think or that, or you would think a little bit of the Wyatt Six thing, like, because she did come out with the ball, and there's still some stuff there to unpack. So,
and Uncle Howdy tweeted out, "There you are." To her.
That's perfect.
Like, yeah,
That's perfect.
And it's like,
that's
yeah,
and that's another story, Josh. I don't know if you felt the same way. That's another. The Wyatt Sixes felt a little, and like from their debut of a legitimate massacre to where they are now, you're like, okay. What
I feel like is so cool about the, we'll say Triple H creative, and everyone says Triple H creative, and it doesn't give credit to. There's obviously a team that is firing on all cylinders, right? But the Triple H led creative, they took the opportunity to let the Wyatt Six, like, okay, we're going to move him over to SmackDown and we're going to chill. You're not going to see Wyatt Six for a little bit because we're letting it rebuild again. It's like what they're doing with Karrion Kross. We're seeing them, little doses, but eventually that's going to have a payoff. And he's going to now be that next level. And it's just, dude, it's so great to be a WWE fan right now. It really is. And that's something that 5 years ago, we weren't saying that. 6 years ago, we weren't saying that. We were saying, God, it is a chore. And I'm offended that WWE is forcing me to continue to watch this. And it's like,
yeah. I mean, and look, there's specific people that carried us through those really tough times, Roman being one of them, right? And like, you get to this point, and now you're at the Women's Rumble, and they decide to give it to the returning Charlotte, which, again, some people are up in arms about. I thought to myself, I said, there's no other way to book this other than Charlotte coming back and winning, because she is the most notable, one of the most gifted, female wrestlers on the WWE roster. And if you really want to build a main event, you got to give it to Charlotte. And of course, they could have went a million different ways, but I think that they got that one right. And when she does her promo on Raw, I said to the fellas, I'm talking to the Tommies and Chris Paynes of the world. I said, look, I said, it's time. She's got to embrace the hate because she's doing the whole, I missed you guys, right? She's trying it out. She's trying out this promo. Like, I missed you guys. It was such a hard road for me back. And they're booing the shit out of her, booing her. And I'm like, okay, flip the script now. Do it now. Like, just turn on them. And she did. And she did. And therefore, there you got yourself either a mix, a matchup between Rhea Ripley, which will be unbelievably bigger than it once was, or she can go over to SmackDown and figure it out. But again,
I'd like it to be Rhea. I'd like it to be Rhea, and the reason for that is going back to that match that was at Mania for the NXT Women's Championship, right?
Yeah, something. She goes, I was a kid. I was a child.
Yeah,
right.
And legitimately, like, this is not the same Rhea Ripley. Like, you know, it's like, Charlotte, you have no idea what you're getting into. And I just feel like it's incredible to think that we're at a point in Charlotte's career where I wouldn't say she's the washed up old one by any means at all. She's got a lot of gas left in the tank, but she's the established nearing legend status in the women's division, which is crazy because yesterday she was,
man, it's in the name, like it's in the name.
And that's, too, how many championships she's had. And, I just, look, she's truly embracing that, like, this generation's version of what Ric Flair was in a lot of ways. And it's cool. She's not to me, she's not a baby face. She's just not. So I think they've got it right now. Yeah, man, they're killing it. And then let's talk about the tag title match.
Dude, these guys are the future of your tag team division. And we saw that. We knew DIY can go. We've seen them now do their thing for a long time. And we know that the Motor City Machine Guns, those guys are just, leaps and bounds better than a lot. So you pair those guys up together in a 2 out of 3 falls match, you're going to get gold. And that's what they got. And like you as a creative director, Triple H knows that, like, this is going to be good. And if it's not, it's on them. You know what I mean? Because the fans are going to eat it up. The workers, the boys in the back, the girls in the back, they're going to eat it all up. So they just have to deliver, and they did, and they continue.
And then you have Street Profits come out there, break a freaking metal crutch over it. Like, good Lord.
It's so funny because we were actually saying that at the studio before the match. I'm sitting there, I'm like, I forget who brought it up. I'm like, where the Profits been? Where they been? I said, I don't know. And next thing you know, oh shit, you know what I mean? Like, and on top of that, they made it very clear that they don't give a shit who it is, right? They weren't trying to help one team over another. They went out there to say, hey, we're back, and again, man, it just leads you to
almost felt like the story that they were telling was, like, hey, sorry, Motor City Machine Guns, but we're taking these titles and we're taking them from these sons of bitches right here. Like, that's what it felt like. And, it was kind of, I was a little like, okay, it's kind of a confusing ending for a second, but I've gotten so used to now just going, all right, let's see where they take us, because they've earned that for us to sit back and just shut up and, enjoy the ride they're taking us on.
Right. Josh, when's the last time we were able to watch WWE? And I think it's only been within the last couple of years, where no matter what happened, now this is coming from you and me, so it's not like the internet wrestling community that could be in a freaking frenzy no matter what happens. The sky can turn gray and they're like, oh my God, like for me and you, we're like, no matter what happens, no matter who goes over on who, no matter what story, we're all just like, okay, let's see what happens. Like we're very optimistic that this shit could develop into something really, really good, because name a storyline right now, there's performers on each roster that I'm just like, all right, they're really never going to find a really good role for these guys, but like, they're still really good performers. Like I never thought in my mind that like the LWO is going to do anything of significance, but it's
No.
still
But
good
I will tell
wrestling.
you, the tag team coming from there, Angel Garza and what's his name,
Well,
Berto or whatever,
well, that's funny because that's the tag team, but then on Raw we saw Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio tagging up. So
Right.
it's like, so they have like
Right,
these
right. They're not
layers.
LWO. They're from they like left the LWO a while back, and now they're the
Whatever.
El
All I'm saying is,
Phantasmo,
right?
Gimmick
There's
Schnabitz, Fernum Durnham. Yeah, but they're like, but they're starting to stand out. Where you're like, ooh, that's a solid team right there, and it's
right.
like, and that's always been my issue with like the LWO was like I hate when there's a um I don't like the groups that are put together based on their like nationality.
Right, yeah.
Because it
Like
feels
like any new Mexican that joins the roster, like, oh, he'd
right,
be great in
right.
LWO.
And because we're not talking like, there are groups where that works. Team Canada or, obviously the Heart Foundation was also thinking like where you can go like, okay, it's based on a specific family thing. The bloodline obviously works. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like when they're just like you said,
It went really off script with like the Nation of Domination. It's like
well, Nation of Domination, then they're like,
I
okay,
know
so
where
now
like
it's going to be a
Fabio
black
was in it,
militant
and, like,
group with Owen Hart.
yeah,
Yeah.
but no, but then like Crush was in it, and like fucking, you're like, what? Who? What? What's going on here?
But like the whole,
And then
like,
he
no, but
joined the
like,
biker gang. So go figure that out.
yeah. But like, but I don't like where the LWO seemed like it was just like, oh, we have a bunch of Latino people on our
Which
roster.
Wars, yeah.
What if we just put them together? Like, oh, what do you think we should do with him? What is he? He's Latino? LWO. His locker room's down that way. Like that's what it felt like. And you're like,
Right.
no, these
Not
are
wrong.
individual. Like these can all be individual characters that don't have to be based on the fact that they're Latino. Like
Right.
let's do something. And now, it looks like what's her name? Zelina Vega has been moved out of the LWO, which is
Mhm.
phenomenal. Is she going to go back with Andrade? That would be interesting.
Spread her wings and fly, man. Let her go. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think like I was saying before, this is the first time that no matter what happens, no matter what direction the WWE decides to turn to, it feels like they just can't miss right now. And like when I say like can't miss, I mean there's going to be some where you're just like, not my cup of tea, right?
Right.
There's always going to be a couple guys like that. But then again, every time you say that about somebody for whatever reason, you give it a couple weeks and you're like, you know what? Guy's growing on me a little bit. You know what I mean? Like it's always like that. It's insane how deep this roster goes. And we saw it in the Rumbles, both Rumbles, just an awesome overall PLE. They really did set the stage for a WrestleMania run. And now you really don't know. Like, obviously, look, Jey Uso goes on Raw, says he's going to go to SmackDown and holler at Cody Rhodes.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Like we understand where this is going. We understand. We're not totally ignorant to the fact that, like, okay, he thinks he could beat Gunther, and Gunther, he's gonna dial this up where he's like, oh, did you hear that? He's like, he goes, I had all the fans believing that I just didn't have what it took anymore, but look where I am now. You couldn't lace my boots. You know what I mean? Like you're not on my level there, Jay. You know what I mean? And he's really dialing it up now where all the kids, you want to talk about a super villain?
Mm-hmm.
Boy, Gunther is about to catch the wrath of 1,000 suns. With the kids. The kids are gonna despise him.
Yes.
And he plays into it because he's not the kind of guy that's gonna go out there and be drop foul language or anything like that. He's so proper and he's such a gentleman and the ring general or however you want to say it. But right, he is the ring and he is the guy that you're going to freaking despise for the next 3 months.
And the thing you're going to hate the most out of it is because you're going to sit there and in the back of your mind as a fan, you're going, he's not wrong. He is that he's gonna freaking good. Oh man,
he is going to tell a lot of truths along the way. You know what I mean? Like, hey, Jay, it took you 15 years or whatever it's been to get to this point. I've been here for 3, and I've been like the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion, the longest this, the longest that.
I did want to touch base on just one of the things. I saw a clip somebody posted of Jay's first Royal Rumble. his entrance into the first Royal Rumble to just crickets, like nobody cares. And there's like Jimmy like giving him like, clapping for him. And here comes Jay with his face paint and his, and he's running in there. And nobody cared at all. And one of the things that I thought about that like stood out to me, because he had said something about his family in particular, that he's the fourth member of his family to win the Royal Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
Yokozuna, you have The Rock, you have Roman Reigns. If you go back to Yokozuna's debut, it was this massive, this sumo champion and all that, right? And very quickly, it's like, this dude is here to be the big bad, right? He's coming in and before you know it, he's world champion. And this is like, that's who he was meant to be.
Crushing Hulkamania, crushing Jim Duggan's insides. Like,
my God.
He was causing havoc immediately.
So that's immediately.
That's a Japanese man.
Right. Well, it's funny. They always announced him, though. I used to think that he was from Japan, but they always announced him from Polynesian Islands, which is...
Really?
Yeah, Calvin pointed that out to me, and I went back and watched, and I never caught that as a kid.
Calvin's like, we don't claim him, right?
Yeah. But man, Singaporean, but still.
Sorry about that, Cal.
But so I looked at that, right? And then you've got The Rock. And everyone talks about how, oh man, remember he was funny hair, Rocky Maivia and all that. But if you actually remember, the first thing that's said about him when he walks through that curtain in Madison Square Garden is, that's going to be a blue chipper right there.
Yeah, that's The Rock. It's the blue chipper.
Yeah. And they, from the beginning, saw him as being a megastar, not in the version in which he would become, but from the beginning, they saw him that way. And by the way, that was November 1996, okay? By November 1997, he's The Rock in the nation.
The leader of the nation, right?
So let's not pretend,
Let's not also completely write off the fact that Vince McMahon had this idea where he's like, let's go with this heel thing. Let's this die Rocky die thing.
By the way, 2 years later, almost to the day of Survivor Series, November 1998, he becomes WWF champion. So again, from the beginning, we don't know how we're going to get there, but from the beginning, that's the blue chipper right there. Roman Reigns comes in there with the Shield. They're destroying everybody. And from the very beginning, that's going to be the guy one day. Roman's going to be the guy. And they always said that. Roman was always the one in their mind that was going to be the guy. And it's funny how much longer it took because the fans just weren't getting into whatever. But Roman was put in there with the idea. I think they wanted, there's something Seth Rollins had said about how it was supposed to be like Chris Hero was who Punk had originally wanted in there. But they're like, no, we want to get Roman in here because he's going to be a big deal.
And I remember the specific moment where the streak is over already with Undertaker, and then he wrestles Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, and that promo that night after, where he didn't have to say shit other than it's my yard now.
And
people are just like, oh my God, who is that? And
but
why
again,
is that?
From the day he debuted on the main roster, he debuted with the intent of eventually becoming a top guy. So now we go back to Jey Uso. And what I love about the story of Jey Uso is when you looked at that guy coming out at the Royal Rumble, you looked at that guy who made his debut, they looked at him of like, these guys could be some good hands, like a good tag team. Like I could see them being the new age version of the Head Shrinkers and the Wild Samoans and keep that lineage going. And guess what? From that, they turned into, oh my God, I think we have maybe one of the greatest tag teams of all time on our hands. And wow, they're like tag team specialists. They're great like that. And a decade goes by and more, year after year. And the dude is just never in anyone's mind of like, now, I mean, look, eventually Jey Uso is going to be a main eventer. Like we all know that. No, never. No one's thinking that. And that's what I love.
but specifically behind Roman Reigns. Like
Mhm.
Roman Reigns is the tribal chief. He's the guy. And who's behind him? Jimmy and Jay. And you always looked at Jimmy and Jay as the guys that are going to be behind Roman
Yeah.
Reigns. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that Roman Reigns and Jay Uso would work a program or Jimmy Uso would work. I'm like, there's no way. Like
Yeah.
it's those are the tag team guys, right? And you know what? Just like I mentioned this as a callback to Eminem, right? Eminem in 8 Mile, where in that final battle, all he does is use the things that he knows his opponent is about to use on him
Mhm.
against him and admits to all of it. Now you got Jey Uso going out there and said, hey, I was the tag team guy. I was
Yep.
this guy. You know, I'm not supposed to win. I'm not supposed to be this
Mhm.
guy. And all of a sudden, he's the most popular wrestler maybe in the world right now, dude, in the world. And I'm not talking, I'm talking every company, indie, AEW, TNA, WWE, all of it. There's nobody more white piping hot than Jey Uso right now.
Yeah, you can't. It is impossible to tell me with a straight face to list the top 5 biggest wrestling stars active right now and not have Jey Uso be on that list.
How about the fact that if there's a top 5, 2 of them are in the bloodline, right? And you know what? Outside the top 5, scraping by, who had a very, very, very good Royal Rumble performance, Jacob Fatu. Like, so it is just.
How about that? Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns go face to face, and they go, "This is a future WrestleMania main event." Holy crap! You know, and Jacob's one of those guys where, dude, like when he becomes champion, he's gonna be there with the Yokozuna and the Rock and the Roman Reigns, and even more so than Roman, he is not going to be in that story of Jey Uso because Jacob Fatu showed up, and like the moment he walked in the door, you're like, well, yeah, he's the future. Guess what? I mean, it was, I don't even know how many years ago, maybe, I think it was, I want to say it was post pandemic. So maybe it was like 2001 or something like that. It was, whenever it was, no, I'm sorry. It was pre-pandemic. I apologize. Pre-pandemic. It was 2018, 2019 or something. February 2019, I think it was. When Rich Swann invited me as a guest to MLW down in Philly. And so I went to hang out with Rich, and Calvin and I went down there, and it was the first time I ever saw Jacob Fatu, because I didn't watch MLW at the time, and still don't. And but I was like, he did a run-in. He didn't even have a match. He did a run-in, pop-up Samoan drop, and I was just like, oh, damn. And then boom, boom, moonsault. Calvin and I like look at each other. We're like, the fuck did we just say? Who is this? Why is he not in the WWE? That was literally the words we said, was, why is he not in WWE? Like, how is he not in WWE?
It's so interesting you bring him up, and his early days. And there was a young strapping gentleman by the name of Dave Sturchio, and he went alongside guys like Tommy D and somebody who I don't know if he's still around, Wrestling Rob. We had politicked, and I tried to use all the stroke that I possibly had to get a one Jacob Fatu booked at WrestlePro, and we were told that he's never been on TV.
He's never touched TV, I believe is the exact term.
So now all of a sudden we get that match booked at Battleground Professional Wrestling with
Junior's promotion.
Alpha Junior, and Moff and Fatu put on a freaking clinic. And I said, told you. I wish I could have called it. You know?
And I'm like,
and now you're looking not even like a year and a half later. And the dude is being touted as the next guy. Like,
I am proud that I booked him on the first showcase event, and I booked him on the second showcase event. And
anybody that's been around this guy, and I've been around them for a couple of events as well, and I got to speak to him at the showcase, right? Briefly right before, and he was just like, he's just talking, just even keeled, just very happy to be there, very appreciative of the booking, just we know that wasn't always his demeanor. We know that, right? We know that there was times where he was just like, F this whole thing. Like, I don't give a shit. Who cares? Blah, blah, blah. Something clicked. Something turned it around. And now Jacob Fatu is on his way to becoming one of the biggest superstars in the World Wrestling Entertainment
I
that
will.
maybe, I don't know, maybe they've ever seen. I don't know, man.
I will.
The sky is the absolute limit for that guy.
I would never betray, the confidence of the things that, we talked about. But he and I have had so many conversations, phone conversations, in-person conversations. But there was one in particular phone conversation where he and I talked, and it was just like him, like, hey, man, here's what my life's looking like. Like, here's what's going on in my life. And this is going to sound like I'm putting myself over, but I'm not. Listen, but I remember just being like, in a way, just kind of just being like, you are so fucking talented. Like, you don't understand how good you are. You are that it factor. And that will be seen. And that was not me like, oh my God, Josh has the eye. No, anyone with two eyes other than Kevin Matthews knows that that's who he was, right? And I'm just like, dude, like, that time's coming. That time is going to come. And it wasn't that he didn't think it was going to, but he had, and he's been very open about, his record and stuff like that. And that was the stuff that held him back from going to WWE.
Isn't it crazy that, like,
first night I met him, he told me about that. Like, he was very honest. He's like, I'm just here. I'm just working hard. And just he told me about it. And
isn't it great though that the ones that really, really are good, and they don't have to be told, right? They don't have to be told they're good, but we do it anyway, right? As fans, as promoters, as guys in the business, as peers, right? Mm-hmm. But it's always the guys that just don't think that they got it, have it the most. Yeah. And I'm telling you right now, he knows it now. He knows where he's at. He knows he's on another level. And I think that if you just keep watering that plant, it is going to grow into the biggest beanstalk you've ever seen in your life. And he's going to be the one in charge of all of it, right? He is the next generation. And look, listen, I know time is undefeated, and a lot of these guys get their start really late. And there's a lot of guys 40 plus right now that are really rocking it for themselves, and it took 20 years to get there, but that's just the business we're in.
So what Wade Barrett said about Joe Hendry, overnight success only took him 15 years to get there, right? Like, I loved it.
It's crazy how it all works. It really is crazy how this wrestling game works, and sometimes you just have to A, put yourself in the right position, B, put yourself in the right situation where it's like, okay, who's gonna see this, right? And I'm not saying like, hey, just don't do these dog shit indies, just do the really big ones. You never know, right? You just never know where you're going to be discovered. And we make light of the fact that Kevin didn't want to use him, but look, sometimes you just
Kevin's given Kevin has given a ton to so many people, like a ton of opportunities,
right? We make a joke about it, but like, Kevin's given a lot of people a lot of opportunities, but this one is just he'll take that L, I'm sure, right?
Yeah,
and
I mean, look,
to do that, but like, I'm sure he'll take the L and say, damn, man, I could have had him.
The Jacob Fatu brain cell was one that got knocked out. That's it for Kevin. But he's been great with other things.
He really has.
He was just dead wrong, and I will never, for the rest of my life, let him live that down.
Listen, I don't know if I'll ever speak to the guy again, but if I do, I will say, hey,
yeah,
I told you.
But it's a great lesson, though. It is a great lesson that, being on TV, Jacob Fatu showed up on TV as a star. He'd never been on TV, and I get it. Yeah, he was on MLW. That's not TV.
Sorry, it just doesn't count.
It doesn't count in that regard. Having said that,
that'll give you your reps when it comes to cameras and working.
And listen, and and I don't mean when I say like he's never been on TV, and that the way Kevin meant it was he hasn't been on TNT, he hasn't been on USA, hasn't been on Fox, he hasn't been in WWE or AEW. Is exactly what he meant.
Sure.
But the point is, the people in MLW, the people in TNA, even before the WWE deal with TNA, those people, like, you cannot count those people out. Like, because Jacob Fatu and now Joe Hendry, and there have been others, have proven that this day and age, TV is your phone. TV is your tablet. And these 70,000 people were singing I Believe in Joe Hendry, knew the lyrics to his song. And the guy has never stepped foot in front of that many people before.
And
right?
the funny
He's on a
part
television show that does not
get air.
right.
Like, right.
By the way, it should. By the way, it should.
Well,
TNA is firing on all cylinders as well.
Looks
But
like TNA is going to be on a live schedule now, where I think it's great, and that's Triple H, and that's the WWE saying, look, if this is going to be some kind of feeding system, which it won't be. I'm not calling them minors by any stretch, because I think what they're doing, their TNA's lineage is unbelievable.
Yeah, but I don't think it's derogatory to refer to it as
no, because I think
it's not minor league. It's just a feeder system, and I think that's okay.
All right, so it's not minor league. I want to call it like a. I don't know.
I know we don't want to be derogatory and say like a AAA like type, and I don't mean the wrestling AAA. I mean baseball.
No, I know.
But yeah,
I know. I'm trying to figure out how to really like define
it is
them.
What it is a legitimate production in front of a legitimate hot crowd where they can get their reps in the ring, get the reps on the mic, get the reps in front of working a TV, a setting.
And now you're gonna get the direction of WWE behind the scenes. And the flip-flopping and the NXT to jump over to TNA jumping over to NXT. And then next thing you know, your music's playing and you're in the Rumble. So it's like, again, it's just an incredible time to be a professional wrestling fan. You and I know this. The people at home that are boo-hooing about certain things, like, just really start to, I beg of you people, I really do. I beg of you naysayers and negative Nancy's out there to start looking at professional wrestling as an art form, as a fun escape from reality, because look, we all know this world is just getting flipped on its ear right now, whether it's the Super Bowl or political or whatever your
Super Bowl is great. Super Bowl,
well, for you,
solid. I mean, this is it's solid right now.
Listen, all I know is there's going to be some third world countries that get some Philadelphia Eagle championship hats and shirts next week. I can't wait for that,
because they're so popular that they'll actually be selling them to third world countries.
No, they have to print them. They got to get rid of them. But listen, professional wrestling is an absolute treasure right now, all across the board. And this goes for AEW as well. And I know that we never really talk AEW, but what I will say
because we go with the if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all kind of mentality.
Fair. But what I will say is those dudes down there and girls alike are very, very talented people. You cannot blame them for somebody playing, I want to play with my wrestlers, and this is the stories that I want to create, and I can't really do anything about it.
That's said something earlier about the people who carried us through those bad times in WWE, the Roman Reigns, the Seth Rollins, people like that, right? To me, AEW right now is atrocious. I'm going to be completely honest. It's unwatchable, and it's
not
terrible.
Watchable for me. It's not.
But I will compare it to WWE in 2019, like that time period. Even worse, because it doesn't have the luxury of being WWE, so that at the end of the day, like, you can't just be like, well, at least it's still the biggest and best or whatever, right?
Right.
But much like then, the one thing that no one ever debated during the worst times in the WWE, where it was just abysmal, one thing that was never debated was the quality of the talent that was working there. And I feel the same way with AEW. The show is terrible. I can't watch it. It doesn't make sense. It's a jumbled crap, right?
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion. But there is so much damn talent on that roster.
Yeah.
That it's almost why it's so offensive how bad it is. Because you have to work hard to be that bad with that.
Anybody, and much like you said, anybody with two eyes, anybody with a pulse that's a wrestling fan knows that there's only one reason why it is what it is right now. And there's only one person as to why it is what it is right now. And I don't give a shit if this guy never signs a paycheck for me in my life. Tony Khan has ruined AEW from its inside. But I do root for the guys down there. I root for
But
everybody
here's
to
the
have
thing.
successful
Here's the thing
careers. And
with
I don't
Tony
know if
Khan.
it's ever coming. I don't know if it's ever coming in AEW. And I root for them to get to the main stage.
But here's the thing with Tony Khan. What it comes down to is if people were to go, man, I really don't like the wrestling hour with Shernoff and Sturchio. I really don't like it. At the end of the day, we're gonna go, okay, well, it's our show, so go watch something else. And at the end of the day, you know, Tony Khan ruined AEW. It's his to ruin, right?
It's true.
Like, people might be like, the hell is going on behind Josh with all of this random? It's my office, man. You know, if you're like, oh, there's too much incredible championship belts and collectibles, but it's mine, so I can do with it what I want, right? Like that's in a way, it's frustrating because we all sit here going, if we had that, you know, and of course it's so easy. Oh, if I had Tony Khan's money, oh, I'd make it. Dude, I think I'd be great and creative. You know, I think I'd do a better job, but I'm not going to sit here and say for sure, oh, I could run the entire, you know, but I'll leave.
I could.
Yeah.
I could.
But, you know, but look, I want Tony Khan to get it together and figure it out because AEW in the beginning was great.
I just want him to be able to listen to a voice other than his own. That's all. Because there's some smart ass motherfuckers.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think the problem is that he listens to voices other than his own, if I'm being completely honest. And I'm not going to go into whatever, just from things I'm not even going to say, I'm not even going to name names, but just from conversations I've had with people who are closer to the situation, Tony Khan has plenty of voices in his ear that I think are.
I'll just say that he's listening to the wrong voices. How about that? So we'll go with that. We'll end with that. We'll end this loaded episode of the Wrestling Hour just like that. We covered the Royal Rumble. We hope you guys enjoyed the show. We hope you guys enjoy the show each and every week. We're here every Wednesday until told otherwise by any other networks. So we will figure out as we
when the other network goes, we hate your show so much. It's NBC is going to contact us and go, you are so bad that you can't even be on the MyFandom YouTube channel.
Yeah, you guys
like,
actually
get off the.
But
YouTube is going to throw us off.
The Royal Rumble is great. We'll get more into it. SmackDown's coming up. Next week, we'll cover some Raw. We'll see what happens. Any more developments as we are on the road to WrestleMania via the Wrestling Hour. So for Dave Sturchio and Josh Shernoff, this has been another episode of That Said Show. We will see you guys next time. Enjoy wrestling, everybody. It's what it's for. Thanks. Good night.